Maganan Hopon, everybody. Thank you for the intro. And so then I'm not going to say who I am. I know it's been a long day for everybody since this conference started, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And I'm fully aware that I'm the only thing standing between you and your dinners. So dinner, that's an extremely tough competitor, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to make you sacrifice making your tummy wait a little longer as it jumps off, at least for this few minutes to be fruitful, so that you'll be able to take away with you some key points that will help augment your organization's cybersecurity further. So you today, the audience, are today's, CXOs. So you're all C-level and therefore, what I want to do is to basically just begin on today's key topic, which is why putting cybersecurity first means putting identity first. And then I'll share a little bit more on identity and access management for today, as well as for the future. But before I go into it, I have a question for everybody. Who wants to be a millionaire? Okay, just kidding. That is not the question. But when it comes to protecting the security of your organization, it is millions you're protecting. So the question I have for you is, what do you think are the security priorities for a CISO or a CSO today? Right? Is it mobile security, identity and access management, or is it endpoint security or cloud access? I know some of you may be asking, is there a option E where all of the above? So I know all these are important, but so according to a particular report, which I shall share in a bit, the answer is identity and access management, right? It isn't because I say so, right? But because according to Morgan Stanley, IAM remains as a CSO or CISO's priority. Therefore, whether you're a CISO or CISO, or you're just part of the security team, or you're C-level, if it's not your top concern today, now may be the time where you want to put a little bit more focus on it. And why is it so? Right. Firstly, the events around the world have shown us that cyber attacks are here to stay. I mean, we all know, right? What happened was there was Delta, and then just last couple of months, we were all happy thinking that life is going to go back to normal. Then all of a sudden, there's like Omicron. So regardless of whatever stages of pandemic we're in, I think we have to be prepared that life is just going to be so turbulent and cyber attacks are just going to be increasing, right? So now then next we look at the current external environment that everybody, is having to deal with. And we all know why all these digital transformation have had to be accelerated over the last 2 years. Right. Companies that we were speaking to, I think in the Philippines, we were previously looking at, when they were doing the planning using a 3-5 years time frame. All of a sudden, I think over the last 1-2 years, we've had to basically switch on everything in lightning speed in order to be able to enable a mobile workforce. So with a growing mobile workforce and everything being put together in a very scrambled manner, right? We've seen attack surfaces grow. And the reality is most SaaS applications today are still protected with a password only. And can you believe it or not, but 80% of confirmed breaches have originated from accounts being taken over by just simply stolen passwords. That's it, stolen passwords. So stolen passwords are actually a real problem. And with identity scattered everywhere, right? Identity and security admins today are struggling to secure multiple points of access. And at the same time, hackers and scammers have really become more sophisticated. So a recent report by Cybersecurity Authority of Singapore, or CSA in short, indicated that phishing has actually increased and security breaches have increased. Basically, your challenges to protect the organizations have just increased. Why? 2 key reasons. One, with more remote access and applications, right? The points and opportunities for attackers to access compromised passwords has increased exponentially. right? Increased applications also means more remote access by users that need protection, right? Two, because this has led to regulators putting in more controls. Very simple, right? Especially in regulated industries such as FSI, or even industries where we're seeing consumers that are accessing a lot of data. So over the past year, I think our daily life has really, changed dramatically. But these market trends have not changed, to be honest. What's really happened is they've just simply been accelerated. That's it. So I don't know about you, but after 2 years, I'm feeling the line between working and home is kind of blurred. Sometimes I can't tell the difference anymore. Like, I think today is the first time in a long time I'm wearing workwear. Right, my gym wear has actually become my daily workwear. I think the gym wear sales has gone up tremendously worldwide. But one thing I do know is that because of all these changes, right, we are hearing execs now asking us one question. They are asking, why can't we be just more convenient, and why can't we just make access more user-friendly, right? But we all know that with convenience comes security. So more secure, less convenient, vice versa. So with a large workforce, right, you cannot engage in one single method of authentication, right? How are you going to ensure that I'm giving the right authentication to the right roles, right? We all know that remote workforces are here to stay, right? But a remote workforce increases the attack vector, and it changes the whole landscape in ways that, to be honest, a lot of organizations are not prepared for. I don't say were not prepared for, they were not, some are still not prepared for it today, right? Many organizations have in the last year went onto the cloud, some in a hurry, but now after 2 years of trying to, just kind of stabilize somewhat, right? They are now relooking at cloud proper. So we're now realizing that if they were solely reliant on the cloud, right? Major outages of some of these cloud providers, or just, to be honest, bad network in some areas, which we know happens relatively often in certain places, it becomes a real problem. So the combination of increase in remote workers coupled with digital transformation, right, that has really changed how IT administrators need to assess user identity, right? IAM managers now need to ensure that the users are really who they say they are, now more so than ever. And with evolving compliance regulations and requirements, right, you need to make sure that you must have a strong risk-based multi-factor authentication in order to make sure that you can govern properly, right? And this is important because you need to support corporate compliance and regulation. So because of all these changes, many organizations are now starting to adopt the zero trust model. And just now, Simon also mentioned the zero trust model. It's been a keyword in many security firms for the longest time. So, but I'm going to share a little bit, which is slightly different from what he shared earlier. I'll talk a little bit about the zero trust model. But before I go into that, I am going to play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire again? Okay. Right. Do you know that an average internet user, yourself, myself, if you haven't counted the number of passwords you have, an average person has about 100 passwords, right? For work alone, each corporate user has about 20, 21 passwords. That's the amount of passwords you have to remember. If you haven't counted it and you're starting to count right now, you'll find it's about that amount. So the World Economic Forum found out that actually for larger businesses, about 50% of their IT help desk calls are actually allocated to just password resets alone. So just to throw a question out there to keep everybody entertained, although this is actually a real world problem, right? Which passwords do you think are the most commonly used? A, birth date, right? B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. C, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, or D, hex star, asterisk, etc. Yeah, I think I'm hearing people laughing. I know it's appalling. When I saw it, I was just, my jaw fell on the ground, right? I'm sure everyone here does not use such passwords because we're all, professionals. And we don't use the same password across different systems, right? Okay. So the answer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, that's how appalling it is. Right, unbelievable, right? So our Chief Product Officer, Jim Taylor, recently told CPO Magazine, right, if there's one single axiom that any CSO or CISO should remember when you are trying to make a case against passwords in your organization, right, is this single sentence. Right? Cyber criminals don't break in, they log in. That's it. It's true. They just simply log in because they've been able to access somebody else's password. So the Verizon investigation report indicates that 81% of breaches are because of weak or stolen password. And yes, this is shocking. The most commonly used password today still is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And you know what's worse is that these days employees are working from home. I'm working from home, right? Everybody else, you're most probably all at home right now. Right? You check your social media sometimes on your work devices because everything is now a blur. You check your work on your phone, you check everything everywhere, whether it's an iPad, it's a laptop, and so on and so forth. And when people on social media, at times they get entrenched, you don't realize that social media is actually not as well protected. And that compromises your work device's security, actually. So a lot of people are trying to get away from passwords because with corporate employees accessing devices on a almost daily basis, seriously, even Saturdays, Sundays, evenings, daytime you mentioned, anytime. Now especially, right? Because we're working from home. So it makes everything more complex, right? So the question is, where do you then draw the boundaries? Where do you draw the perimeter, right? What's more is that as your company, as your organization digitally transform, you can no longer look at just your employees' data. Now you also have to look at your customers' data. That has also to be secured. So as a framework from NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, which was also used in Simon's earlier, seems like I'm just following perfectly right after him, right? It's outlined 7 tenets on how we need to think about zero trust actually. So this is the interesting. Zero trust, as they say, it's not one product. It's not a miracle pill, right? It's actually a strategy that a organization needs to adopt. So zero trust doesn't happen overnight as well. You can't just buy some things, go online shopping, and then that's it. First you have to understand where your organization is, right? So where your organization is dependent on your authentication and access policies. So as we evolve to a zero trust mindset, authentication and access policies advance, right? As we're seeing things like passwordless, or actually right now, the new buzzword is password free, right? And risk-based access. We'll see that evolve to where we might see the next generation, if not already, to be honest, machine access and decentralized identity, where decisions are literally real time, split second. So our customers find that they're at different stages and they want to actually get better at IAM. So the question to you then, as a C-level, where are you in your journey? Do you know that? What do you need to do next? So we're seeing companies rapidly accelerate their digital transformation, right? Then they started using a lot of cloud-based applications. So now more than ever. So what's resulted is, like I mentioned earlier, on a perimeter ecosystem, right? So there's no one single perimeter, not like when you're in the office, to manage identities, right? They're scattered everywhere, they're entangled, right? You're leaving identity and security and struggling, right, to secure many points of access and individual parameters, so to speak, right? This brings us back to my earlier slide about how attack services have grown, right? It leaves many places of opportunities for adversaries to use sophisticated scams on user credentials so that they can just log into your system. So with all these, starts to become harder to detect, right? Very often, all you need is, say, an ID, whether it's your email address or your identification or social security number. And then after you enter that as a username, the next thing is password. That's it, nothing else. That is a very dangerous situation, especially when you have people using passwords like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So organizations need to rapidly move their employees to remote work previously over the last 2 years. So now employees access applications on the network anytime, anywhere, also from any device, which means you have to look at multiple use cases of authentication and also all the risks that are associated with this. It's not just employees, because you now also have to look at the shifts in behaviors of your customers. Customers are doing more online stuff. They're accessing your company's front-end systems or applications. They're doing everything from their mobile phone, right? They're ordering things online, using their user profiles to access company portals. So we need to make sure that customer information is also secure with their increasing usage, right? So in this new perimeterless ecosystem, this is how a zero trust strategy, and not just strategy, to be honest, it's how a zero trust mindset can pave the way forward. That is, trust nothing, verify everything. But for administrators, the question is, how can you simplify the needs, right? To make sure that you effectively verify all these points. How can you develop a strategy to verify while not complicating things for employees and customers? You don't want to cheese them off, you don't want to make it a pain. So how do you provide them with convenience and flexibility that they need? Right? Today's biggest challenge actually is an identity challenge. And the biggest identity challenges, right, I think are the need to have a zero trust as a mindset, right? Not just a strategy, mindset. Because you are now a branch, you are a one-person branch office, right? So you need different methods of convenient authentication methods. If you can't use your mobile phone, such as in a clean room, or because there's no network, it's not very strong network, or something is down, there must be other options, right? For example, SecurID also provides things like hardware tokens, which is very popular. Right? You need to have it connect and reach your on-prem, on-cloud, or these days it's on all your clouds, because you may have more than one cloud. You need to breach everything. You need to be hybrid so that you can make it easy and convenient for everybody, right? And you need it to be such that you can avoid somebody in your company being so, just that tardy that they just put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as an option. You don't want that to be your biggest security nightmare, right? And you need it to be an enterprise-grade credential management system, right? So as you go out today in search of your ideal identity solution to manage this identity challenge of today and the future, I would say consider these 3 things, right? You need one that meets these challenges and help you move forward in your IAM journey, regardless of where you are in your journey, right? You need a platform that is all these 3 things. First, it must be empowering, right? Why? Because you need it to be enterprise grade. You want it to be scalable. You want to be able to expand it as your organization grows. You want to be able to expand it as you grow your application, as your company transforms. You want it to be reliable, well-tested. You want it to be from a reliable company, not a fly-by-night solution, such as a company that has been around like 40 years and that till today continues to innovate, right? Secondly, you want it to be flexible, right? Every organization now has multiple use cases. right? The number of authentication choices you have out there, right? To company risk profile, right? And then you need to be able to scale your identity access management. You need it, finally and lastly, not last but not least, to be convenient, because you want it to be convenient for the admins. You want it to be convenient for the end users. You want it to be convenient to the end users, both employees and customers, so that you can authenticate, right? You can simplify the whole identity governance and lifecycle journey, right? So I'm very fortunate to have had the chance to help many organizations in strengthening their cybersecurity posture over the years and providing them with their users, right, with the reliability, flexibility, and convenience. So I hope I have a chance to be a part of your IM journey in the future in ensuring your organization's cybersecurity. Right, thank you.